Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Field Notes. I'm recording this at a very, again, busy time of year. It'll be going for like another month. So I'm just taking a moment to light a candle, to breathe, and to attune or tune in. Might be a better way of putting it. Yesterday at this time, which is about 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, I was just finishing up doing uh, kind of a guided meditation sound journey for the Opportunity Collaboration online community call. There were about 120, 130 people on there. And I had prepared, maybe as additional context, these meetings are really wonderful opportunities for the community to come together, get to know each other. It's all social impact leaders, investors, funders from all over the world. And it really is a chance to put relationship at the center. And in the middle of the 2 hour gathering every month, they have what they call community connection. And it's usually singing or some kind of music or group dancing. And they asked me to do it. I don't do any of those things. So they just asked me to do, whatever I wanted to, essentially. So I was really nervous and I over prepared. I wanted to do like a whole sound journey, like a mini inner dance journey. So I prepared like 60 sounds, everything from the wind going through the trees in the forest to a monster truck rally. Because I didn't really know what I was going to do. And when it came time to begin, my hand was shaking. It might have been nerves, it might have been just the power of the group's energy, even over Zoom. And as I tuned in, what emerged was an opportunity for people to simply breathe together and to connect with the part of each one of us that remembers being in our mother's wombs and sharing a heartbeat. And that the before we were change makers or leaders or movement builders or whatever, we were kids with a dream, that there's a dream that wants to live through us. And so over the course of about 7 minutes, supported by sounds that I was mixing, not the monster truck sounds, it just invited them on a journey of weaving their dreams together with the breath. And I think folks felt it, at least the reflections I heard. But from my end, what I experienced was opening a relational field at an energetic level. So not just exchanging information about their work or their names or whatever, but really coming together in a shared energetic and vibrational space. And I felt that in the moment. And afterwards, people were like texting me with all of these synchronicities that were happening, right? One person texted me and they were texting someone else and talking about I won't go into the details, but um, something real happens when we drop into a purely energetic, vibrational, and relational space. So not just meditating on my own, but doing that consciously in relationship with others to weave and co-create a space. That there is a very real, felt, and tangible impact that we might call coincidence or we might call synchronicity. And it's nonlinear, but when we activate a field like that, suddenly synchronicities become normal and predictable in a way. So I want to start there because one of the things that I try to do in these recordings is tap into a relational field with you, with whoever might be listening to this, and with consciousness itself, just to see how it may want to dance with whatever comes out of my face. There's another piece that I've been kind of holding. One of the things I love about these times of year when I'm really busy is that I'm doing so much facilitation, design, breath work, inner dance, coaching, whatever. It becomes a huge learning lab for me. And one of the things that I've been learning about the past couple weeks through conversations with clients and really exploring is this idea of, it shows up a lot as the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset. And the way that I've been reframing that is the scarcity mindset is a real thing. Abundance has gotten a little weird in United States culture, where abundance has become associated not with reciprocity and not with balance, but with linear attainment. Oh, there's so much abundance, I'm going to 10x my business, right? If I move from scarcity to abundance, I'll become a billionaire. That's generally how it's framed. And so what I've been working with a few folks around is, what if we substitute enoughness for abundance? Because scarcity isn't that the world isn't abundant, it's that there's not enough. There's not enough resource. There's not enough time. There's not enough connection. So really the opposite of scarcity may be enoughness. And what a few folks have reflected is like they have a negative reaction to that idea of enoughness because it feels complacent. Oh, I have enough. I couldn't possibly have more soup or, whatever. That's an Oliver Twist reference. Uh, and, I've felt that tension too. And in exploring with folks, what's come up is this idea that when we kind of buy into that myth of constant growth, right? We need to expand, we need to grow, we need to, um, you know, 10x, 100x, whatever. What we're saying in a way is like, my growth is more important than the system or the story that I'm inside of. I need to 10x, even if it means I have to clear cut an entire forest, because the growth of my thing, my business, my dream is more important than the system I'm inside of. Right? So that myth of constant growth and like, oh, there's always enough, actually creates imbalances in systems, and that leads, ultimately to climate change and system collapse. If everyone is growing without limit, without a negative feedback loop, then eventually the system will correct itself. Enoughness, on the other hand, isn't about being complacent. Enoughness is recognizing, and there is nothing new about this idea, right? This is core to indigenous cultures all over the world, but enoughness is realizing that we exist within a system. And so to really calibrate to the energy of enough means that we are tuned into a system, and that we are living in a state of energetic and maybe even resource reciprocity with that system. So I'm not going to harvest more crops, wild rice, money, whatever, than I need to support my life, to support my vitality, to support my, natural environment. And at the same time, when the system needs me, I'm going to contribute back to it. Um, we're bordering on Marxism here, but that idea of enoughness is actually requires a much deeper level of attunement, self-knowledge, and sensitivity than growth, than constant growth without regard for the system. The metaphor that came up in a session was like, if we are piloting a boat through stormy seas and we just go full throttle, which would be, the business equivalent of like grow, grow, grow at all cost, right? Our boat is going to crash because we are going to be going through massive waves. They're going to be, crashing over the bow. They're going to be slamming into the ship. We're going to capsize or something's going to break. And we see that a lot in organizations and businesses and teams. We have to grow. We have to rocket fuel this. And then they fall apart. Enoughness in that metaphor would be knowing exactly how to throttle the boat, exactly how to use all of the controls of your vessel to move and dance with the stormy seas, so that you can navigate in a safe, good way and get where you need to go. It takes a lot more effort. It takes a lot more knowledge of the system, the ocean, the weather, the wind that you're inside of. And at the end of the day, you're still standing while the other ship is shipwrecked. So when I think of abundance versus enoughness to me is just such a beautiful way of saying it's not that I'm being complacent. It's that I'm being aware of the system and the story that I'm part of, how I'm contributing to it, how I might be extracting from it, how it's extracting from me at a personal level, at a communal level. And so, how do I navigate that, right? What is the right size for my home, for my business, for my relationships? So, I've been sitting with that and recognizing, especially after the experience activating that relational field with opportunity collaboration yesterday, that activating a relational field is a huge part of enoughness, because when it's alive for us, right, when it's not something that's just an intellectual exercise, then it's something that we can consciously navigate through and with, that we can tap, um, that we can tap for information. And as I say that, what immediately comes up, of course, is that's what the library is about. That library construct that I've been working with is a way to open a relational field with consciousness and with little pockets of consciousness, a relationship with a client, a business, maybe you want information on a hotel room, whatever it is, but you're opening up a relational field between you and your body and whatever book or information you're seeking in the library. And then once we access that information, we're in relationship with it and we can make decisions accordingly that are much more attuned and aligned, even if we're not sure exactly why or what the output will be. Once we learn to trust the attunement, then we're in that zone of enoughness. The other piece of this, right, just like with the boat on the stormy seas, is that enoughness isn't static. It's constantly changing as the system around us changes. So growth, weirdly, is static. Even though you're growing, it's linear. You're full throttle. You're not modulating. Enoughness is about modulation. It's about rhythm. It's about spirals instead of lines. And there's something really powerful in that. Just sitting for another moment and just letting some of that settle in my system. I've never said that before, and just hearing it really landed that enoughness is about spirals and modulation and rhythm. It's the difference, I think, if we think of it in terms of sound or inner dance or sound journeys, between when somebody says, this frequency is aligned to the heart center, right? There's there's all sorts of theory around that. There's a difference between playing a monotone and expecting it to do a thing and really tuning into the system and allowing for modulation, pulse, and rhythm. So when I'm working purely with sound, I've never really thought about it this way before, but part of it is helping retrain the nervous system and the body and attune to the nervous system and the body so that it can move in its more natural, rhythmic, cyclical ways and not get locked into acceleration or hypervigilance. So there's a lot here, right? We're talking energetically, somatically, the way our minds can race, kind of the fractal nature of reality, where we can start even with a single cell and the way it vibrates in our body, and then see, oh, if I'm vibrating at the same frequency all the time, right? Then ultimately the system of my body is going to get imbalanced. In a way, this is what cancer is. Cancer is just out of control growth. The cells don't know when to turn off. The same thing happens in our systems. When we don't know how to turn off, to modulate, to move in spirals and dance in rhythm, then the whole system gets upset. And one of the ways to introduce more balance is to open up that relational field and trust it to bring us into relationship with each other, and this idea of this bring us into this zone of enoughness. Thanks for listening, friends. I'm excited to listen back to this one. I'm not sure exactly what I said, um, but thanks for listening. Hope it was interesting, and I'll see you again soon.